Hey YouTube! Alright, free agent frenzy. Pretty well over. Most of the big names are gone. There's still some stuff to happen, but I'm going to go quickly through all of the various, I wrote them all down, like right there, starting at the beginning, more or less. All of the various signings, re-signings, the amount of money, the trades. I'm going to quickly go over good contract, good for the money, or bad contract, bad for the money, good player, worth it, bad player, not worth it, good for the team, bad for the team, and hopefully we will get through as many of these as possible. I'm hoping to get all the way through the most recent of Anthony Tolliver's signing with Phoenix. I believe that's the most recent piece of information that I have. Starting back at the very beginning, the Mavericks get Tyson Chandler, Raymond Felton, and the Knicks get Jose Calderon, Samuel Dalembert, Wayne Ellington, Larkin, and a second-round pick. All right, quickly I will state this. Terrible trade for the Knicks. All right? I realize you wanted Raymond Felton out of town. I realize you were disgruntled with Tyson Chandler. But expiring contract. Tyson Chandler's an expiring contract. That is gold. All right? That is gold for a number of teams that need that expiring contract. All right? Raymond Felton, 2 years, $6 million. Okay? I believe it's $6 million. Might be 5, actually. The Knicks get Jose Calderon, who signed up for another 3 years. 3 years, $8 million a year. And you also have Shane Larkin you're going to be paying $2 million a year. And that goes up to, I believe, $4 million or so by the time you're done paying him. Wayne Ellington, I believe, is 1 year, and so is Samuel Dalembert. So, in essence, you got rid of Felton in exchange for Jose Calderon playing for you at $8 million for 3 more years. For a team that's trying to save cap space and building money, paying $8 million to Jose Calderon probably isn't the best choice. All right? Great trade for the Mavs. You get Tyson Chandler. He's going to be bashed over the head by Carlisle and Dallas. Great move. You just got a starting center. Oh, by the way, he's an expiring contract. You got $15 million to play with next offseason. When a lot of big names come. Knicks fans, Jose Calderon's eating up $8 million of your cap space. Shane Larkin's eating up $2.5, $3 million of your cap space for the next 3 years. Raymond Felton's 1 more year after this, $5 million. Is he capable of being a starting point guard? He showed it in the past when he was with Charlotte. He showed it in the past in his first go-around with the Knicks. It's possible. And the other possibility is that Raymond Felton go bye-bye because he does something stupid and gets arrested. Win-win for the Mavs. I know that you're so excited about the Knicks getting rid of Tyson Chandler and Felton. This is another one of those emotional things versus logic. All right, Aaron Afflalo to the Nuggets, Fournier to the Magic. I like the trade for both. Fournier, he's a prospect, up and coming, goes to the Magic. They're rebuilding. You want to gather loads and loads of talent, choose which pieces and see which pieces are actually going to help you long term and go with them. You got rid of a veteran in Aaron Afflalo who's making some decent money. Win-win. Nuggets, get a quality player in Aaron Afflalo to help them make a playoff push in the very tough Western Conference. Kyrie, 5 years, $90 million. Wrong time to do this. They should have waited till the end of this year. He hasn't proven he's healthy. He hasn't proven he can play with LeBron James. And he turns the ball over a lot. All right? Wait. Patience. All right? You still got the full 5-year, $90 million contract you can offer him during the offseason too. All right? Too early for that move, in my opinion. CJ Miles, 4 years, $18 million to the Pacers. I don't know why you would make that move. $4.5, $5 million for CJ Miles coming off the bench. Doesn't make sense to me. Bench players should be in the $3 million and under range unless it's the 6-man. In that case, you can pay up to $8, $9 million for him. Jody Meeks, 3 years, $19 million. to the Pistons. See what I just said on CJ Miles, except for the fact that I think that Jody Meeks looked a lot better than he actually was. It helps when you play 40 minutes a game for the Los Angeles Lakers, who had nobody else to play with. Pau Gasol was hurt. Marcin Gortat, 5 years, $60 million to the Wizards. At first, I thought that was a lot, but after looking at what the other centers are getting in this league, fantastic signing for the Wizards. Gortat is a great player. He can go and he can fit in any system, and he doesn't have to be the number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4 option. He will fill whatever you need, play strong defense, and be your starting center. I love him to death. I think a lot of teams should have gone after him. They didn't. Miami should have gone after him when they didn't get LeBron James. I know that he signed before, but I'm just saying. Sean Livingston, 3 years, $16 million to Golden State. See my Jody Meeks, see my CJ Miles. Same thing. Backup point guard, okay. But there's a lot of backup point guards that just got paid $2 million. I don't know why you paid $5.5 for Sean Livingston. Is he that big an upgrade? I don't think so. Avery Bradley, 4 years, $32 million to Boston. No! No. What you're supposed to be doing is you're supposed to be getting your pieces, your young talent, your draft picks, putting them on the roster, seeing which ones are going to work long-term, decide if you want Rajon Rondo to be your long-term solution, not have Avery Bradley in the middle to muddle it up. Is he a long-term solution for your shooting guard? No. Can he come off the bench? Yeah. But Boston fans are going to have to wait 2 or 3 years before that's going to happen. Why spend the money on it? That $8 million is such a luxury when you're going into free agency. Bad idea. Ben Gordon, 2 years, $9 million to Orlando. I don't know why you signed an old guy like that, or an older guy like that. $4.5 million, not too bad. It's not terrible. He's a decent shooter. He can be an offensive guy off the bench. Provide a little bit of veteran experience. Patty Mills, 3 years, $12 million, San Antonio Spurs. Great backup point guard. He's young. I think he's good. He'll get more minutes as Tony Parker continues to age. Great move by the Spurs. Kyle Lowry, 4 years, $48 million to Toronto. Above average point guard, can score and can pick up and carry a team if need be. I also think he can be pretty good in terms of distributing the ball, and he's a decent defender. I think he's got a lot of areas he can improve on and a lot of areas he should improve on. He's young. I think he can get better. Darren Collison, 3 years, $16 million to Sacramento. Again, too much for a backup point guard, in my opinion. You don't pay $5.5 million for a backup point guard, considering there's so many more options out there that are getting a lot less. Thabo Sefolosha, 3 years, $12 million to Atlanta. You need a defender, but the guy is such a liability on offense. Really, I would have looked at more of the 2 years, 2.4, somewhere around there. 12 million, 3 years, don't think it's worth it. Dirk Nowitzki, 3 years, $30 million to Dallas. Perfect. Awesome for both sides. Good for Dirk, good for Dallas. They have salary cap space, and this will take Dirk to the end of his career. And Dirk can play as long as he wants. Any 7-footer that shoots as well as he can make it a long time in this league. Chris Kaman, 2 years, $10 million for Portland. That's the price of a center, backup center. Kaman's a good one, I think, a good backup center. He's very risky. He gets injured a lot. If he stays healthy, that will be an absolute steal for the Portland Trail Blazers. They had a really terrible bench last year. That's the thing that prevented them from moving on. They had one of the best starting lineups in the entire league. After they improve that bench a little bit, I think they can go deeper. Patrick Patterson, 3 years, $18 million to Toronto. Why? He's like a small forward, power forward, tweener. No, just no. Good job on Patrick Patterson for converting that production into 3 years and $18 million. I think that was a bad move on Toronto's part. Spencer Hawes, 4 years, $23 million for the Clippers. It'll be interesting. Or is he going to start over DeAndre Jordan? I think you needed to have a backup center there. I would have taken a look at bringing back Kaman. I also would have taken a look, instead of spending 4 years and paying him, about $6.5, $7 million, I would have seen if Pau Gasol would come in instead for that kind of money. Gasol got a similar type deal from Chicago. Pau Gasol fits now, and he can be your starting center. Really good passer. Can you imagine the pick and roll with Pau Gasol and Chris Paul? Oh, it was like the Lakers all just moved to the Clippers side. Let's see, where was I? Devin Harris, 3 years, $9 million for Dallas. That's what I was talking about, $3 million for quality backup point guard. Awesome deal for Dallas. I actually think he could start in the right system. You give him enough support, enough weapons, which I think Dallas has done. Good job. Josh McRoberts, 4 years, $23 million. What are you doing? You got an undersized center. He's a power forward. Now you're going to put him next to Bosch, who can't play the damn center spot. Bosch is best playing the power forward spot. If you're going to go out and spend $118 million on Chris Bosch, put a decent big man next to him and stop making him play the 5. Dumb. Danny Granger, 2 years, $4.2 million to Miami. Great signing, low risk, medium reward, can be a solid defender, has good length. I like him in that 6-man role. Boris Diaw, 3 years, $22 million for San Antonio Spurs. Don't like it. I don't think he was that important to the San Antonio Spurs. I think they could have chosen better guys. That would have been a better bargain and also much younger. That would have done the same thing and actually better. There's a lot of other options that are shooting big men that can shoot better than Boris Diaw. They might not be able to pass as well. I'd still go with somebody else other than Boris Diaw for that kind of money. I would have thought $2, $3, $4 million for him. Certainly not 7.5. Jordan Farmar, 2 years, $4.2 million to the Clippers. Again, what I was talking about. Quality backup point guard, $2.1 million. Great price. Very good. Bird Brain moved by Orlando. Channing Frye, he's over 30. He didn't play much last year. He wasn't a very effective when he did play. I know he can hit a 3, but come on. 4 years, $32 million. You better get 82 games out of the year, and you better have a starter for that kind of money. I wouldn't start him. He would come off my bench for 10 to 15 minutes. If I needed a three-point shot, he'd come in the last minute or two when I needed the long-range distance to space the floor. Dumb move by Orlando. Jarrett Jack to Brooklyn. Cavs get a bunch of Euro dudes. Tyler Zeller, Marcus Thornton, and a 2016 first-round pick to Boston. Makes sense for the Cavs. They needed cap space. Brooklyn trying to hang on by the thread and skin of their teeth. I think Jarrett Jack's a great guy to plug in. He'll get lots of minutes since Joe Johnson and Darren Williams are going to be oftenly hurt. I think that was great on Brooklyn's part because they're trying to shoestring a okay season out of next year. They will have Brook Lopez coming back. That'll help a lot. Tyler Zeller, Marcus Thornton, and 2016 first-round pick to Boston. I like it. Thornton, I believe, is coming off either this year or the following year in his contract. They get a first-round pick in 2016. I believe, I'm not 100% certain on this, that it was Brooklyn's draft, it was the Cavs draft pick. That won't be so good, but it's always good to have those picks because you can always trade them for veterans on a later date. Euro dudes for Cavs, it's a big gamble with them. You never really know. A lot of Euro dudes do really well, and a lot of Euro dudes are drastically overrated and just crap out, all right? It is a hit or a miss. You don't fall much in the middle. But again, the trade was for the cap space, so good. Griez Vasquez, 2 years, $13 million to Toronto. Again, $6.5 million on a backup point guard. You didn't need to. You had Jordan Farmar available. You could have gotten him for a lot less. Or this next guy, Steve Blake, 2 years, $4.2 million for Portland. Awesome job getting a good backup point guard to Damian Lillard. I think they can play on the floor a little bit to give Wesley Matthews and Nicola Batum a little bit of a break. And Blake works well in any system. Good shooter. I like it. Great signing by Portland. Isaiah Thomas, 4 years, $27 million. Well worth it. All right, $6.7 million per year. Going to Phoenix, I don't like that he's going to Phoenix. I think that this man should be starting as the two-guard, shooting guard, for a team that has a fairly big point guard. The guy scored over 20 points a game, over 6 assists. He's extremely raw, very young. There's some upside to him. And if I'm going to pay $6 million, that's pretty good. I can have him come off the bench for that, but I still think he's got the talent to start. He's going to have to learn some control. He's going to have to learn that he's not going to be the number one option on an offense like he was with Sacramento. So again, I like it, but I don't think it's the right team for him because you're going to be fighting with Eric Bledsoe and Goran Dragic for minutes. How many minutes is he going to get between those guys when they're playing 35, 40 minutes a night? All right, PJ Tucker, 3 years, $16.5 million. He's your starter, but do you want him to be a starter? Just because you called him a starter and started him last year, does that really mean you have to pay him $5.5 million? Again, other small forwards available on this list, much cheaper price. Chris Bosh, 5 years, $118 million to Miami. I think you had to do that. You have Dwayne Wade. He doesn't have too much longer. Miami can make a playoff push easy. They can be in that Eastern Conference final pretty darn easily. With the signing of the next guy that I'm going to, well, one of the next guys, Luol Deng, I like the move. I think that he is going to be very tradable if they run into issues. Bosh is somebody that you can plug into any team, and he can make them better. It's not all guys like that. J.R. Smith, if you took him from one team and traded him to another, he could hurt that team because he shoots too much. Bosh is clearly willing and able to play the third or fourth string, and he's clearly able to be the number one option. I like it. I pray to God Eric Spoelstra gets some sense and puts this man in the post instead of sticking him out at the three-point line. Just because he can doesn't mean he should. All right, Jeremy Lin and a first-round pick from Houston to the Los Angeles Lakers. Great trade for the Lakers. You got a free first-round pick, and you get a Jeremy Lin, who I hate, but he's an expiring contract coming off the books next year. That's when the Lakers will make their move. I think that's when you can see the big turnaround. Kobe, be patient. This year, it's going to suck. Don't get your ass injured. Wait till next year. Lakers will be fine, all right? Nick Young, 4 years, $21.5 million. Great guy to come off the bench, I think. I like him as a six-man. He's still young. If he learns control, which is very hard, and it's going to be very hard on this Los Angeles Laker team that is bereft of talent, yeah, I still think it's a good signing. You're going to have to get a coach with some cojones. I really think Mark Jackson would be a good move. We'll see. Jordan Hill, 2 years, $18 million to the Lakers. Too much for an unproven center. Pau Gasol received less. If I were the Lakers, I would have offered him that contract, 2 years, $18 million, and tell him that, you know, you're coming back to Kobe Bryant. We just brought in, and yeah, I just think it's too much for him. I would have given him a 1-year contract at that, but not 2 years, because next year is when the Lakers need to be making their move for another star, and him eating up $9 million is really going to hurt that. Vince Carter, 3 years, $12 million to Memphis. I like the signing. Not too expensive. He's got veteran leadership. He's fairly talented. He's a perimeter spot-up shooter. I like it. Good move for the Memphis Grizzlies. Gordon Hayward, 4 years, $63 million to the Jazz. If Gordon Hayward's worth $63 million, then I should be on an NBA roster right now. You have got to be kidding me. Max contract for Gordon Hayward, 16 points, 5 assists, 5 boards. So what? He had no talent in Utah. That's as good as he gets. All right? That was the best situation for any player to be in, is to sit out there in Utah and jack up 60 shots a night, have the ball in your hands all day long, and he puts up 16 points a game? No, not good. $63 million? I think 20 is more appropriate. $5-6 million for him. Plug him in the starting lineup. I'd prefer him as a backup. Take a look at Wesley Matthews or Nicola Batum, those guys up in Portland. All right? Those are what he is. That's his ceiling, all right? I don't see Wesley Matthews ever getting paid max contract money. Terrible move. I don't know what the Jazz were thinking in agreeing to that contract. All right? do a sign and trade deal over to Charlotte. Get back maybe a draft pick, first rounder, since they seem to value him so high. Oh, terrible move. Perhaps the worst move in this entire offseason that we've had so far. Carmelo Anthony, 5 years, $124 million for the New York Knicks. Clean the slate. End it. Right now. Cut it off. All right? You got to get some decent draft picks in. This is the problem with the Knicks. They always go to mediocrity. They sign and oversign and overspend to mediocrity, and it gets them nowhere. All right? If you lose, you get a better draft pick. If you don't lose and you stay somewhere in the middle or somewhere around 500, or in the East case, if you're around, say, win 10% of your games, you're still better than half the Eastern Conference because they suck so bad. I think you should have let Melo walk, all right? Go in next year where you're going to have tons of cap room. Try and move Andrea Bargnani. Try and move Amari Stoudemire. Try and move those guys. Try and get them off your books for that 2015 season and say, look, to all the free agent class, we can sign 4 or 5 of you. Come in and let's be the Miami Heat of the big 3. But they didn't do that. They got Carmelo Anthony and they strung together a bunch of other stupid signings to try and survive. Another year of mediocrity for the Knicks. Woohoo! And no money to spend. Woohoo! Anthony Morrow, 3 years, $10 million for OKC. All right. You got a three-point shooter off the bench. Bit expensive. Probably a better option would have been Mike Miller, James Jones. Any of those guys. All right. I don't care. LeBron James, 2 years, $41.5 million. Obviously good for Cleveland. Obviously good for LeBron. I'm not going to go on any further from that. Marvin Williams, 2 years, $14 million to the Charlotte Hornets. Why is this man still getting overpaid? Are you kidding? $7 million a year for Marvin Williams? What the heck did he do? Has anybody ever heard of the name Marvin Williams since the Hawks drafted him? I don't believe he's ever done anything, has he? What am I missing on Marvin Williams that seems to have awarded him $7 million a year every year since he came into this league? Oh, by the way, he haunts me in my sleep for my card collection. Pulled so many Marvin Williams rookie autographs. It's not even funny. Paul Pierce, 2 years, $11 million. Fantastic signing by Washington. $5.5 million, going to buy you 17 points, 5 assists, 5 boards. Oh, that's Gordon Hayward. And they got veteran leadership, won championships. That's exactly what that young Washington Wizards team needed. I think that leadership aspect is going to be an improvement over Ariza. The skills might not be, but he's still a very good shooter. I think he'll allow John Wall and teach John Wall how to utilize the weapons. Luol Deng, 2 years, $20 million for Miami. Great signing. I'm a big Luol Deng fan. He's a good defender. He can put up 17, 18 points. A lot of the Bulls fans were saying, oh, he's done. He's had it. Well, he was having his best season in Chicago before he went to Cleveland, where I don't think he was too happy. But he was actually having the best season of his career with Chicago. So he's still getting better, or he'll stay the same. Either way, you're looking at 17 points a game for Miami on that perimeter and a solid defender. I like it. In terms of replacing, and I believe it's only really a 1-year contract. I think there's a team option or some sort of option in there. So Miami's still going to have that money available next year. Pau Gasol, 3 years, $22 million for Chicago. Good, but not great. You lost Carlos Boozer. How much more is Pau Gasol going to provide than Carlos Boozer did? I'm not sure. Except for the fact that I believe Boozer was expiring contract this year. I think Chicago, it's not going to work out because I don't think Derrick Rose is going to be all that they believe he will be, considering the guy's played 10 games in 3 seasons now. And those 10 games weren't exactly stellar, and he was very healthy for those 10 games. So I like the move. I think it gets him deep into the playoffs, but it's not going to push him over the edge. And they don't have the ability to do that now because they signed Pau Gasol. Chandler Parsons, 3 years, $46 million to Dallas. Dallas was looking for a way to spend money, and they found a way to spend money. I don't think Chandler Parsons is the answer. You're now on the hook for 3 years. But I think he can be a good fourth piece. Now you got to go in the 15-16 year, and you got to go out and get a top-notch free agent to pair with Dirk Nowitzki and Chandler Parsons. But again, Parsons is a good team player. Overpaid? Yes. Good player? Yes. Worth it? Yeah, I think so. I think he's the right fit for Dallas. So I like that. Mario Chalmers, 2 years, $8.3 million to Miami. Guys, just because he played bad in the finals doesn't mean he's a bad point guard. You got to get to the finals in the first place. So I'm happy with that. $4 million for Mario Chalmers. That's okay. In the end, you'd like to see him be a backup point guard. $4 million for a backup point guard isn't too bad either. Omer Asik to the Pelicans, and Alonzo G plus a first rounder protected to Houston. Good move for the Pelicans. I like that. I think they can be a playoff team this year if they get some of their pieces to click. I like the pairing with him and Anthony Davis down low. It'll allow Davis to be a little bit more free on offense. You've got a great defensive center in Omer Asik. Good move. Chris Anderson, 2 years, $10 million to Miami. Yeah, that's about right for a backup center, just as I was saying with Chris Kaman. Chris Humphries, 3 years, $13 million for Washington. Really like the signing. I think Humphries is undervalued. A very good rebounder. Coming off the bench, I like that move to back up Marcin Gortat. D. Wade, 2 years, $34 million to Miami. I think that's good for both sides. I think that's good for Miami, and I also think that's good for D. Wade. I look forward to seeing him play his last few seasons out with Miami. Mike Miller, 2 years, $5.5 million to Cleveland. You're appeasing LeBron more so than it actually makes sense. He'll be okay. He'll be solid. He'll give you 15 minutes a night. That's fine. Carlos Boozer bought out. I'm not too happy with that. Anthony Tolliver, 2 years, $6 million going to Phoenix. Backup player, $3 million. All right, I guess. Lance Stevenson, 3 years, $27 million to Charlotte. Surprisingly, I like this move. He's got a lot of talent, and I was kind of worried coming into this offseason that everybody was going to go bananas over him and give him a max contract. $9 million is about right. The guy's getting better if you can control his mental state. You got to have a solid, firm hand, a good coach, and a good leader. This is going to be a big test of Big Al, whether or not he can keep Lance Stevenson in check, all right, and know that that's his team. You don't come into his house and take his team. Lance Stevenson, you're number 2. You're not number 1. I think Jefferson's got to put that down in the mud, make it clear for him. That's it. All right, you want me to talk anything more specific on any of these particular ones, let me know. I will also, of course, have my preseason rankings.